Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UE's Defiance, staring at the main screen with growing dread. The massive alien ships hung in space like dark metal clouds, their surfaces gleaming with strange lights that pulsed in patterns no human could understand. They had appeared 3 hours ago at the edge of the solar system, and the world had not been the same since. "Sir, we're receiving another transmission," said Lieutenant Amy Parker from the communication station. Her voice shook slightly as she spoke. Jake could not blame her. Everyone on the bridge looked scared, and they had good reason to be. "Put it through," Jake said, straightening his uniform. He had been in command of the Defiance for only 6 months, and now he faced the most important moment in human history. Main screen flickered, and the image of an alien appeared. The creature was tall and thin, with pale blue skin that seemed to glow from within. Its eyes were large and completely black, showing no emotion at all. When it spoke, its voice was cold and mechanical, like a computer trying to sound human. "I am Zara Kef, speaker for the Hegemony Council," the alien said. "We have observed your species for many cycles. You are violent. You destroy your own world. You fight endless wars. You spread chaos wherever you go." Jake felt his hands clench into fists, but he forced himself to stay calm. "We are not perfect," he said carefully, "but we are trying to be better. We have learned from our mistakes." The alien's expression did not change. "Your words mean nothing. We have seen your history. We know what you are. The Council has decided that humanity is a threat to galactic peace. You will be removed." A chill ran down Jake's spine. He had feared this moment since the first alien signal had been detected. "What do you want from us?" "You have 72 hours to prove that your species deserves to exist," Zaraketh said. "You must show us something that makes you worthy of joining the galaxy. If you fail, your world will be cleansed, and your species will be forgotten." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in complete silence. Jake looked around at his crew. They all stared at him, waiting for orders, waiting for hope. He wished he had some to give them. "Get me Admiral Collins," Jake said finally. "And someone contact Dr. Chang. We need every expert we can find." The next few hours passed in a blur of emergency meetings and frantic planning. Jake found himself in the war room with the best minds Earth could offer. Admiral Frank Collins sat at the head of the table, his weathered face showing the strain of command. Dr. Lisa Chang, the top expert on alien life, shuffled through papers with shaking hands. Commander Ryan Blake, the military's best strategist, stared at tactical displays that showed their hopeless situation. "The alien fleet has over 200 ships," Ryan said, his voice flat with defeat. "Our entire Space Force has 37 vessels, and most of them are outdated. We cannot win a fight against them." "Maybe we don't need to fight," Dr. Chang said quietly. "The alien Zaraketh mentioned proving our worth. They are giving us a chance." "That means something." Admiral Collins shook his head. "What could we possibly show them that they have not already seen? They have been watching us for who knows how long. They know everything about us." Jake leaned back in his chair, thinking hard. The weight of humanity's survival pressed down on him like a physical force. Every person on Earth was counting on them to find an answer, and they had less than 70 hours to do it. "What do we know about them?" Jake asked. "About this hegemony?" Dr. Chang pulled up a file on her tablet. "Not much. From what we can tell, the hegemony is made up of dozens of different alien species. They have been around for thousands of years. Their technology is far beyond ours. They seem to value order and peace above everything else. That explains why they see us as a threat," Ryan said bitterly. "Humans are not exactly known for being peaceful." "But we have changed," Jake insisted. "We have not had a major war in over 50 years. We work together now. We explore space together. We are not the same species we were 100 years ago. Try telling them that," Admiral Collins said with a sigh. "They have already made up their minds about us." Jake stood up and walked to the window. Earth hung below them, blue and beautiful, and completely unaware of the danger it faced. Normal people were going about their normal lives, not knowing that alien ships waited in the darkness, ready to end everything. "There has to be something," Jake said. "Some quality that makes humans special, something that no other species has." Dr. Chang looked up from her papers. "Actually, there might be. I have been studying the alien transmission, and there is something strange about it. The way they communicate, the patterns they use, it is all very logical, very precise. But there is no emotion in it at all. None. So they are emotionless," Ryan said. "How does that help us?" "Maybe that is exactly how it helps us," Dr. Chang said, her voice growing excited. "What if emotion is what makes us different? What if our ability to feel, to create, to express ourselves is something they do not have?" Jake turned around, hope stirring in his chest for the first time since the aliens had arrived. "You think our emotions make us special? I think our emotions make us human," Dr. Chang said. "And maybe that is exactly what the galaxy needs." Admiral Collins frowned. "How do we prove that to them? How do we show them that feelings matter?" Before anyone could answer, the door burst open. A young woman rushed in, her face flushed with excitement. Jake recognized her as Kayla Brooks, one of the civilian researchers working on the quantum communication project. "I am sorry to interrupt," Kayla said breathlessly, "but I think I found something important." She moved to the main display and pulled up a series of complex equations. "I have been working on quantum resonance patterns, trying to understand how the aliens communicate. But I found something else, something in their ship signatures." The room fell silent as Kayla worked at the controls. Strange waveforms appeared on the screen, pulsing and shifting in rhythmic patterns. "These are not just communication signals," Kayla said. "They are harmonic frequencies. The alien ships are generating music, but it is all wrong. It is like they are trying to sing, but they have forgotten how." Jake stared at the display, his mind racing. "You think they want music?" "I think they need it," Kayla said. "And I think I know how to give it to them." For the first time since the crisis began, Jake allowed himself to smile. Maybe, just maybe, they had found their answer. The countdown had begun, but humanity was not finished yet. Kayla Brooks hurried through the corridors of the U's Defiance, her violin case bouncing against her hip with each quick step. She had never imagined that her childhood music lessons would become the key to saving humanity. But here she was, racing toward what might be the most important performance in history. The ship buzzed with activity. Crew members ran past her carrying equipment and data tablets. Everyone looked worried, but there was also hope in their eyes now. Word had spread quickly about her discovery, and for the first time since the aliens arrived, people believed they might have a chance. She reached the science lab and found Dr. Lisa Chang waiting for her with a group of researchers. The room was filled with computers and strange machines that hummed and blinked with colored lights. On the main screen, the alien ship patterns still pulsed in their broken rhythms. "Show me again," Dr. Chang said as Kayla entered. "Show me exactly what you found." Kayla set down her violin case and moved to the computer terminal. Her fingers flew over the keys as she pulled up her research from the past few days. She had been working on quantum communication theory when the aliens arrived, trying to find new ways for Earth ships to talk to each other across vast distances. "I was studying how quantum particles can carry information," Kayla explained, pointing to the complex equations on the screen. "When the alien ships appeared, I started analyzing their signals. At first, I thought they were just sending data back and forth between their ships." She pressed another key, and the display changed to show wave patterns that looked like heartbeats on a medical monitor. But then I noticed something strange. These patterns were not random. They followed rules, like music follows rules. Dr. Chang leaned closer to the screen. "What kind of rules?" "Mathematical ones. The same mathematical relationships that exist in music. Frequency ratios, harmonic sequences, rhythm patterns. It was like they were trying to create a symphony. But something was missing. Kayla opened her violin case and took out her instrument. It was an old violin that had belonged to her grandmother, worn smooth by decades of playing. She had carried it with her even to this military ship because music was as necessary to her as breathing. "Listen to this," she said, placing the violin under her chin. She drew the bow across the strings, playing a simple melody. The notes filled the lab with warm, rich sound that made everyone pause in their work. As she played, the computer began to react. The alien signal patterns on the screen started to change, becoming more organized, more complete. The broken rhythms began to smooth out into something that almost sounded like music. "My God," whispered one of the researchers. "The quantum field is responding to the violin." Dr. Chang stared at the display in amazement. The music is affecting their communication system. But how is that possible? Kayla lowered her violin, her heart pounding with excitement. "I think it has to do with human emotion. When we play music, we are not just making sound. We are expressing feelings, putting our hearts into the notes. That emotional energy gets translated into quantum signatures that the alien technology can detect." She turned to the group of scientists who had gathered around her. "Think about it. Every piece of music humans create comes from some kind of feeling. Joy, sadness, love, anger, hope. We pour our emotions into our art, and that makes it more than just organized sound." Dr. Chan nodded slowly, understanding beginning to dawn on her face. And the aliens do not have that emotional component. Their signals are technically perfect, but they lack the human element that makes music truly alive. "Exactly," Kayla said. "Their technology is trying to create music, but they do not know how to feel it. That is why their patterns sound broken. To us, they are missing the most important part." Commander Ryan Blake entered the lab, looking tired but alert. He had been coordinating with Earth's defense forces, trying to prepare for whatever came next. "How much time do we have left?" he asked. Dr. Chang checked her watch. 46 hours and 23 minutes. Ryan nodded grimly. "The alien fleet has not moved, but our sensors show they are charging some kind of weapon system. We need to move fast." Kayla felt a chill run down her spine. She had known the stakes were high, but hearing about weapons made it all feel very real. Billions of people were counting on her to figure out how to communicate with beings from another world. "I need to understand more about their technology," she said. "Can we get closer to their ships? Maybe send out a probe with musical signals?" "Too dangerous," Ryan said immediately. "If we approach their fleet, they might see it as an attack." Dr. Chan had an idea. "What if we do not approach them? What if we broadcast music from here and see how they respond?" If Kayla is right about the quantum signatures, they should be able to detect it anywhere in the solar system. "It is worth trying," Kayla agreed. She picked up her violin again and thought about what to play. She needed something that would show the full range of human emotion, something that would demonstrate what made humanity special. She began with a slow, sad melody that spoke of loss and longing. The notes drifted through the lab like tears, touching something deep in everyone who heard them. On the computer screen, the alien signals began to shift, becoming more complex and organized. Then she changed the music, moving into something bright and joyful that made people smile despite their fear. The alien patterns responded again, growing stronger and more coherent. It was as if the ships were learning to sing along with her. Finally, she played something that combined all emotions at once: hope and fear, love and anger, sadness and joy, all woven together in a melody that captured what it meant to be human. The effect on the alien signals was dramatic. For the first time, their patterns looked truly musical, truly alive. When she finished playing, the lab was completely silent. Everyone stared at the screen, watching the alien signals pulse with new life and energy. It was beautiful and terrifying. At the same time, "They are responding," Dr. Chang whispered. They are definitely responding. Suddenly, the main communication system crackled to life. Captain Morrison's voice filled the lab, tense with urgency. All senior staff to the bridge immediately. We are receiving a new transmission from the alien fleet. Kayla quickly packed her violin and followed Dr. Chang and Commander Blake toward the bridge. Her heart was racing with excitement and terror. Had her music worked? Had she managed to get through to the aliens? Or had she somehow made things worse? As they hurried through the corridors, she could not help but think about all the musicians throughout human history who had used their art to bridge differences between people. Now, she was trying to bridge the gap between entire species, and the fate of humanity hung in the balance. The bridge doors opened, and they rushed inside to find Captain Morrison and his crew staring at the main screen. The image of Zaraketh appeared again, but something was different this time. The alien's cold, emotionless expression had changed slightly. There was something new in those black eyes, something that might have been curiosity. "Humans," Zaraketh said, and her voice was no longer completely mechanical. "You have done something unexpected. The Council wishes to understand what you have shown us. We will speak again soon." The transmission ended, leaving everyone on the bridge looking at each other with a mixture of hope and uncertainty. Kayla clutched her violin case tighter, knowing that the real test was just beginning. Captain Jake Morrison paced back and forth in his quarters, unable to sleep despite having been awake for nearly 20 hours. Outside his window, Earth hung in space like a blue marble, peaceful and beautiful. It was hard to believe that in less than 36 hours, it might all be gone. A soft knock at his door interrupted his thoughts. "Come in," he called. Dr. Lisa Chang entered, looking as tired as he felt. She carried a data tablet and had that expression she got when she was working on a difficult puzzle. "Jake, I think we need to talk about what happened today." He gestured for her to sit down at the small table in his quarters. "You mean Kayla's music affecting their signals?" "That is part of it, but there is more." Lisa set down her tablet and pulled up a series of charts and graphs. "I have been analyzing the alien response patterns all day. The changes in their communication signals after Kayla played were not random. They were learning." Jake leaned forward, interested despite his exhaustion. "Learning what?" "How to feel," Lisa said simply. "I know it sounds crazy, but that is what the data shows. When Kayla played sad music, their signals became more complex in specific ways. When she played happy music, they changed in different ways. It is like they were trying to understand what those emotions meant." Jake rubbed his temples, feeling a headache coming on. "So you think they really do not have emotions?" "I think they lost them," Lisa said. "Look at this." She showed him a comparison chart on her tablet. "These are the signal patterns from when they first arrived, and these are from after Kayla's performance. The difference is dramatic. It is like they remembered something they had forgotten." Before Jake could respond, his communicator beeped. "Captain Morrison to the bridge," came the voice of Lieutenant Parker. "We have another transmission from the alien fleet." Jake and Lisa hurried to the bridge, where they found the entire senior staff already assembled. Commander Ryan Blake stood next to the captain's chair, his face grim. Kayla Brooks was there too, clutching her violin case like a lifeline. "Put it through," Jake ordered as he took his position. The main screen flickered, and once again the image of Zaraketh appeared. But the alien looked different now. Her pale blue skin seemed less cold, and there was something in her black eyes that had not been there before. Something almost human. "Captain Morrison," Zaraketh said, and her voice carried a slight tremor that had not been there in previous transmissions. "The Council has discussed what your musicians showed us today. We are curious about this thing you call music." Jake chose his words carefully. "Music is one of the ways humans express their emotions. It helps us share feelings with each other." "Emotions." Zaraketh repeated the word like she was tasting something new. "We have not experienced such things for many generations." Our species evolved beyond the need for such complications. Dr. Chang stepped forward. May I ask what happened to your emotions? Did you choose to give them up? For a long moment, Zaraketh was silent. When she spoke again, her voice was quieter, more uncertain. Long ago, our people were much like yours. We felt joy and sadness, love and anger. But emotions led to conflict. Wars were fought over feelings. People died because of passion and jealousy. So our ancestors developed ways to remove these troublesome aspects of our nature. And now, Jake asked gently, now we have perfect order, perfect peace, no wars, no suffering, no pain. Zaraketh paused, and something that might have been sadness flickered across her features. But also no joy, no love, no hope. We exist, but we do not truly live. Caleb took a step forward, her young face full of sympathy. That is why you are testing other species, is it not? You are looking for something you lost. Zaraketh turned her attention to the young woman with the violin. You understand more than we expected, small musician. Yes, the hegemony has spent centuries searching the galaxy for species that might teach us what we have forgotten. But every race we have encountered has either been too primitive to help us, or has followed the same path we did. Until now, Dr. Chang said. Until now, Zaraketh agreed. Your species is unique. You have developed advanced technology, but you have kept your emotions. You have known war and suffering, but you have not let it destroy your capacity to feel. This is what makes you dangerous to some members of the Council. Commander Blake. Frown. Dangerous how? There are those among us who believe that emotions are a disease that must be eliminated from the galaxy. They see your species as a threat that could spread this infection to other races. They wish to destroy you before you can contaminate our perfect order. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. And what do you believe? Zaraketh was quiet for a long time. When she spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper. I believe we are dying. Not in body, but in spirit. Our birth rates have fallen to almost nothing. Our people feel no joy in creation, no passion for discovery. We are becoming extinct not through war or disease, but through emptiness. Music could help you, Kayla said suddenly. Art and emotion do not have to lead to war and suffering. They can lead to beauty and connection. They can make life worth living. This is what you must prove, Zaraketh said. The Council has agreed to give you one chance to demonstrate that emotions can coexist with civilization. If you succeed, we will not destroy your species. Instead, we will ask for your help in rediscovering what we have lost. And if we fail? Jake asked, though he was not sure he wanted to know the answer. Then the faction that sees you as a threat will have their way. Your world will be cleansed, and the galaxy will remain safely empty of feeling. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. Jake looked around at his crew, seeing the weight of responsibility settling on all their shoulders. They were not just fighting for human survival anymore. They were fighting for the right of emotions to exist in the universe. How long do we have? Commander Blake asked. Lieutenant Parker checked her instruments. 28 hours and 47 minutes, sir. Jake turned to Kayla, who was staring at her violin case with a mixture of determination and terror. Can you do it? Can you show them that emotions are not dangerous? Kayla looked up at him, and despite her fear, her eyes were bright with resolve. I have to try. Not just for us, but for them too. They are dying inside, and they do not even know it. Dr. Chang placed a gentle hand on Kayla's shoulder. You will not be alone. We will all help you prepare. What do you need? Jake asked. Kayla thought for a moment, then smiled despite everything. I need to compose the most important song in human history. Something that shows the full range of what it means to be human. Something that proves emotions are not weakness, but strength. How long will that take? Ryan asked. I do not know, Kayla admitted, but I better figure it out fast. As the bridge crew dispersed to begin preparations, Jake remained behind, staring out at the stars. Somewhere out there, an advanced alien civilization was slowly dying because they had forgotten how to feel. And somehow, a young woman with a violin was humanity's only hope of saving both species. The countdown continued. But now Jake understood what they were really counting down to. Not just the end of the world, but the beginning of something entirely new. Kayla Brooks sat alone in the ship's music room, her violin resting on her lap as she stared at the empty sheet music in front of her. She had been trying to compose for 6 hours straight, but every melody she created felt wrong. How could she possibly capture all of human emotion in a single piece of music? The clock on the wall showed 18 hours and 12 minutes remaining. 18 hours to save 2 entire species from extinction. The weight of it made her hands shake every time she tried to play. A soft knock at the door interrupted her thoughts. "Come in," she called, expecting to see Dr. Chung or one of the other scientists. Instead, Captain Morrison entered, carrying 2 cups of coffee. He looked as tired as she felt, but his eyes were kind. "Thought you might need this," he said, offering her one of the cups. "Thank you," Kayla said gratefully, wrapping her fingers around the warm mug. "I am not sure coffee is going to help, though. I cannot seem to write anything that feels right." Jake sat down across from her. "Tell me what you were trying to do." Kayla sighed and gestured at the scattered papers around her. "I need to create something that shows the aliens what human emotions really are. Not just that we have them, but that they make us stronger, not weaker. But how do you put hope and fear and love and anger all into one song without it becoming a mess?" "Maybe you are thinking about it wrong," Jake said quietly. "You do not need to show them every emotion at once. You need to show them what emotions can become when they work together. I do not understand." Jake leaned forward, his expression thoughtful. "Think about what makes humans special. We feel everything very deeply, but we also choose what to do with those feelings. We can feel angry and choose to fight for justice. We can feel sad and choose to help others. We can feel afraid and choose to be brave anyway." Kayla sat down her coffee and picked up her violin. "So instead of just showing them emotions, I should show them what we do with emotions." "Exactly. Show them that feelings are not just chaos. They are the fuel that drives us to be better." For the first time in hours, Kayla felt a spark of inspiration. She raised her violin to her chin and began to play a simple, tentative melody. It started soft and uncertain, like someone taking their first steps into an unknown world. As she played, other crew members began to gather outside the music room. Through the glass windows, she could see Dr. Chung, Commander Blake, and several others listening intently. Their presence gave her strength, and the melody grew bolder. She played about fear, but not the kind that made people run away. She played about the fear that made parents fight to protect their children, the fear that made soldiers stand together against impossible odds. The music grew stronger, more determined. Then she shifted to sadness, but again not the crushing kind that destroyed people. She played about the sadness that made humans reach out to comfort each other, the sadness that taught them to value what they had. The melody became gentle and healing. Next came anger, but not the destructive rage that started wars. She played about the anger that made people stand up against injustice, the anger that drove them to make the world better. The music became fierce and righteous. Finally, she played about love. Not just the romantic kind, but the love that made humans sacrifice for strangers, the love that made them explore the stars hoping to find friends among them. The melody soared, lifting everyone who heard it. When she finished, the room was completely silent. Through the windows, she could see tears on the faces of the people listening. Captain Morrison wiped his eyes and smiled at her. "That was it," he said softly. "That was what they need to hear." Dr. Chang entered the room, her face glowing with excitement. "Kayla, the ship's quantum sensors picked up your performance." The Alien fleet responded immediately. Their signal patterns became more complex and organized than we have ever seen. They are learning, Commander Blake added as he joined them. Whatever you just played, they felt it. Kayla looked down at her violin, amazed that this simple wooden instrument could bridge the gap between species. We should record it properly. Make sure we can broadcast it clearly when the time comes. Already working on it, Dr. Chang said. But first, we need to prepare for their arrival. Their arrival? Jake asked sharply. 3 of their ships broke. Away from the main fleet 20 minutes ago. They are heading directly for us. They will be here in 6 hours. Jake felt his blood run cold. Are they attacking? We do not think so. The ships are broadcasting peaceful approach signals. It looks like they want to come aboard. Kayla clutched her violin tighter. They want to hear the music in person. That is what we think, Dr. Chang. Confirmed. Zaraketh transmitted a message requesting permission to board the Defiance with 2 other council members. They want to witness your performance directly. Commander Blake looked worried. It could be a trap. Once they are on our ship, they could take control or destroy us from within. Or it could be our only chance to really reach them, Jake said. He turned to Kayla. What do you think? Are you ready to perform for an alien audience? Kayla took a deep breath, trying to calm her racing heart. The idea of playing for beings from another world was terrifying, but also strangely exciting. This was what she had trained her whole life for, even if she had never known it. Yes, she said firmly, but I want to make one change to the piece. What kind of change? Dr. Chang asked. Kayla stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the stars. I want to add something at the end. Something that shows them what we could accomplish together if we combine human emotion with their knowledge and wisdom. Can you do that in 6 hours? Jake asked. I have to try. Kayla turned back to face them, her young face filled with determination. This is not just about proving that emotions are not dangerous. This is about showing them that emotions and logic together can create something beautiful. Dr. Chang smiled. A partnership between species. Exactly. They have the technology and knowledge. We have the feelings and creativity. Together, we could explore the entire galaxy and make it a better place. Jake stood up and put his hand on Kayla's shoulder. Then you better get back to work. We will handle the preparations for their arrival. As the others left to prepare the ship, Kayla sat back down with her violin. She had 6 hours to add the perfect ending to the most important song ever written. 6 hours to compose humanity's Invitation to the Stars. Outside the window, she could see 3 small dots of light growing larger as the alien ships approached. Soon, she would be face to face with beings who had forgotten how to feel, and she would have to remind them what they had lost. The countdown continued, but now Kayla felt ready. She raised her violin and began to play, pouring her heart into every note. The music that filled the room was not just about human emotions anymore. It was about hope for the future, about 2 species learning from each other, about the beautiful things that could happen when different kinds of intelligence worked together. As she played, the quantum sensors throughout the ship picked up her music and broadcast it into space. Somewhere out there, alien minds were listening and learning to feel again. And in a few hours, she would help them take the next step back toward becoming truly alive. The main hangar bay of the UES Defiance had been transformed into something that looked more like a concert hall than a military docking area. Soft lights had been arranged around a small stage where Kayla Brooks would perform. Captain Morrison stood near the entrance, his dress uniform perfect, but his hands slightly shaking as he watched the alien shuttle approach through the energy barrier. 2 hours and 17 minutes remaining, Lieutenant Parker announced over the ship's communication system. Her voice echoed through the hangar, reminding everyone just how close they were to the deadline. Dr. Lisa Chang checked her instruments one final time. All quantum sensors are active. We will be able to monitor their reactions in real time during the performance. Commander Ryan Blake positioned himself near the security team, though Captain Morrison had ordered them to keep their weapons hull power down. This meeting had to be about trust, not fear. The alien shuttle was unlike anything the humans had ever seen. It was smooth and flowing, like liquid metal frozen in motion. Strange symbols pulsed along its sides in patterns that almost looked like musical notes. As it settled onto the hangar deck, the ship made no sound at all. A section of the shuttle's hull simply melted away, creating an opening. 3 figures stepped out, and every human in the hangar bay held their breath. Zaraketh was the first to emerge. She looked exactly as she had in the transmissions, tall and graceful with pale blue skin that seemed to glow from within. Her large, black eyes moved around the hangar, taking in everything with what might have been curiosity. The second alien was shorter and stockier, with silver skin marked by intricate patterns that shifted and changed as he moved. The third was the most unusual of all, with skin that appeared to be made of living crystal that reflected the hangar lights in rainbow patterns. "Welcome aboard the UES Defiance," Captain Morrison said, stepping forward with his hand extended. In the traditional human greeting, "I am Captain Jake Morrison." Zaraketh looked at his extended hand for a moment, then reached out and clasped it briefly. Her skin was warm but felt different, like touching smooth stone. "I am Zaraketh. This is Council Member Vexmore," she gestured to the silver-skinned alien, "and Council Member Lysera," she indicated the crystal being. "We have come to witness what you call music," Vexmore said, his voice deeper and more mechanical than Zaraketh's. "Our species has not experienced such things for many generations." Lysera said nothing, but the crystals in her skin pulsed with different colors as she looked around the hangar. Dr. Chang whispered to Captain Morrison that the crystal alien might communicate through light patterns rather than sound. "Before we begin," Zaraketh said, "you should know that not all the Council agrees with this meeting. Many believe that your species should be eliminated regardless of what you show us today. Others think that emotions are too dangerous to allow back into the galaxy. And what do you think?" Jake asked. Zaraketh was quiet for a moment. "I think we are already dead, and we just do not know it yet. Perhaps your musician can teach us how to live again." Kayla stepped forward from where she had been waiting near the stage. She looked very young and small next to the tall aliens, but her voice was steady when she spoke. "I want you to know that this music is not just mine. It represents all of humanity. Every note comes from thousands of years of human experience, both good and bad." She walked to the stage and picked up her violin. The hangar became completely silent, except for the soft hum of the ship's engines. Even the security team stopped moving, understanding that this moment would determine the fate of their entire species. "This first part is about fear," Kayla said, raising her violin to her chin. "But not the kind of fear that makes you run away. This is the fear that makes you brave." She began to play, and the melody that filled the hangar was unlike anything she had ever created before. It started soft and uncertain, like a child taking their first steps. But as the music continued, it grew stronger and more determined. The fear in the melody was not weak or cowardly. It was the fear that made parents protect their children. The fear that made people stand up for what was right even when it was dangerous. The effect on the aliens was immediate. Zaraketh's large black eyes grew even wider, and her breathing became faster. Vexmore started to tremble slightly, his silver skin patterns moving more rapidly. Lysera's crystal body began to pulse with deep blue and purple colors that matched. The rhythm of the music. Dr. Chan watched her instruments in amazement. The alien ships in orbit were responding to the music, their quantum signatures becoming more complex and organized than ever before. Kayla moved into the second movement, about sadness that heals rather than destroys. The melody became gentle and flowing, speaking of the sadness that made humans comfort each other, the sadness that taught them to value what they had. The music wrapped around everyone in the hangar like a warm embrace. Vexmore made a sound that might have been a sob. His mechanical voice broke as he spoke. "What is this feeling?" This ... weight in my chest. That is sadness, Dr. Chong said gently, but also compassion. The ability to feel another person's pain and want to help them. The third movement was about anger, but not the destructive kind that started wars. This was the anger that demanded justice, the anger that refused to accept cruelty and suffering. The music became fierce and powerful, making everyone who heard it want to stand up and fight for what was right. Lysaira's crystal body flared with bright red and orange light. She spoke for the first time, her voice like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. This energy, it makes me want to act, to change things that are wrong. That is righteous anger, Jake explained. The kind that builds rather than destroys. But it was the fourth movement that truly changed everything. Kayla played about love in all its forms. The love between families, the love for friends, the love for strangers who needed help. But most importantly, she played about the love that made humans reach out to other species, hoping to find friendship among the stars. As the music soared through the hangar, all three aliens began to change. Tears that looked like liquid starlight ran down Zaraketh's face. Vexmore's silver patterns began to form shapes that looked almost like flowers. Lysaira's crystal body blazed with every color imaginable, creating patterns of beauty that took everyone's breath away. Then Kayla moved into the final movement, the new section she had composed just hours before. This part was about cooperation, about what could happen when different kinds of intelligence worked together. The melody spoke of humans and aliens exploring the galaxy side by side, sharing knowledge and wisdom, creating things that neither species could accomplish alone. The music built to a crescendo that filled the entire hangar with hope and possibility. When the last note faded away, the silence was so complete that everyone could hear their own heartbeats. Zaraketh was the first to speak, her voice thick with emotion. "We had forgotten," she whispered. "We had forgotten what it meant to truly be alive." Vexmore looked at his hands as if seeing them for the first time. These feelings, they do not make us weak. They make us ... more. Lysaira's crystal body pulsed with soft, warm light. "We have been dying for so long. We thought it was normal. But this is what living should feel like." Captain Morrison stepped forward. "So what happens now?" Zaraketh looked at him with eyes that were no longer cold and empty. "Now we try to convince the rest of the council that emotions are not a disease to be cured, but a gift to be cherished. And we hope that your species will help us remember how to feel again." The countdown clock showed 1 hour and 43 minutes remaining, but somehow nobody was worried about time anymore. They had found something much more important than survival. They had found hope. The countdown clock in the hangar bay showed 0 hours, 0 minutes, and 0 seconds. The deadline had passed, but instead of destruction, something beautiful was happening. The 3 alien council members stood with the humans, no longer cold and distant, but warm and alive with newfound emotions. Zaraketh held a small communication device in her hands, speaking rapidly in her own language to the other ships in the fleet. Her voice carried emotions now, rising and falling with passion as she tried to convince her people that humanity should live. "What is she saying?" Captain Morrison asked Dr. Chong, who was monitoring the translation software. "She is telling them about the music, about what she felt," Dr. Chong replied, watching the readout scroll across her screen. "But some of the other council members are not convinced. They still think emotions are dangerous." Vexmore moved closer to where Kayla sat with her violin. His silver skin patterns were still moving in flower-like shapes, a sign that the music had changed something deep inside him. "Play again," he said to her. "Let my people hear what I have heard." "Will it reach them?" Kayla asked. "Can the music travel that far?" Lysaira stepped forward, her crystal body pulsing with gentle blue light. When she spoke, her voice was like music itself. "Our ships are connected by quantum fields. If you play here, all of our people will hear it." Kayla looked at Captain Morrison, who nodded encouragingly. She raised her violin once more and began to play. But this time, she did not play the same piece as before. Instead, she created something new, something that spoke directly to beings who had forgotten how to feel. The melody started with emptiness, the cold silence of a universe without emotion. The notes were sparse and mechanical, like the alien voices had been when they first arrived. It was beautiful in its own way, but it felt hollow, incomplete. Slowly, carefully, Kayla began to add warmth to the music. Single notes of feeling crept into the melody like the first flowers of spring. The change was subtle at first, but it grew stronger with each measure. The cold, perfect order began to crack, letting in light and life and hope. Throughout the hangar, the alien communication devices began to hum and sing along with the violin. The quantum fields that connected their ships were carrying the music across space, reaching every member of the hegemony fleet. On her instruments, Dr. Chang could see the effects spreading from ship to ship. The rigid patterns of alien communication were becoming more complex, more alive. Across the entire fleet, beings who had not felt anything for generations were beginning to remember what it meant to have emotions. But not everyone was happy about this change. Zarakev's communication device suddenly erupted with angry voices speaking in harsh mechanical tones. Her face fell as she listened to the words. "What are they saying?" Commander Blake asked. "Some of the council members are terrified," Zarakev said sadly. "They can feel emotions returning, and it frightens them. They are ordering the attack to begin immediately." Through the hangar's viewports, the humans could see the alien fleet beginning to move. Some of the ships were turning toward Earth, their weapons charging with ominous light. But other ships were not moving at all, and a few were actually moving to block the path of the attacking vessels. "They are fighting each other," Jake realized. "Your people are divided." "Yes," Vexmore said, his voice heavy with sorrow. "Those who have remembered how to feel are trying to protect your world. But those who still fear emotions want to destroy you before the change spreads further." Kayla lowered her violin, looking out at the battle beginning to unfold in space. "I need to do something more. The music is not enough by itself." "What do you mean?" Dr. Chang asked. "I need to show them what emotions can create, not just what they feel like." Kayla turned to face the three aliens. "Your technology responds to quantum fields, right? What if I could use music to actually help your people instead of just making them feel better?" Lysera's crystal body brightened with interest. "What are you thinking? Your ships, your cities, your whole civilization is based on logic and efficiency. But what if we could combine that with human creativity and emotion? What if we could make something that was both perfectly logical and beautifully alive?" Zarakev looked puzzled. "How would that work?" Kayla smiled and raised her violin again. "Let me show you." This time, when she played, she did not just create music. Working with the ship's quantum communication system, she began to weave melodies that actually interacted with alien technology. The music carried mathematical patterns that could improve their ship designs, artistic concepts that could make their cities more beautiful, and emotional resonances that could help their people work together more effectively. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Throughout the alien fleet, ships that had been charging weapons suddenly stopped. Their hulls began to glow with new patterns of light, more beautiful and complex than anything they had displayed before. The rigid, geometric shapes of their vessels started to flow and change, becoming more organic and alive. "Impossible," breathed Vexmore, watching his people's ships transform. "She is teaching our technology to feel." But the most amazing change was happening to the aliens themselves. On every ship in the fleet, beings who had been cold and logical for centuries were beginning to remember not just how to feel, but how to create. They started composing their own music, writing poetry, creating art that combined their advanced knowledge with newfound emotions. The attacking ships stopped their advance toward Earth. Their crews, overwhelmed by the return of feelings they had thought lost forever, could not bring themselves to destroy the species that had given them this gift. Zaraketh's communication device was filled with voices now, but they were no longer angry or mechanical. They were filled with wonder, gratitude, and something that sounded very much like joy. The council has reached a decision, Zaraketh announced, tears of starlight still running down her face. Humanity will not be destroyed. Instead, we formally invite your species to join the hegemony as our newest and most honored members. Captain Morrison felt relief wash over him like a warm wave. And what does that mean for us? It means partnership, Vexmore said, his flower patterns now covering his entire body. Your people will help us remember how to feel, and we will share our knowledge of the galaxy with you. Together, we will explore the stars and help other species find the balance between logic and emotion. Lysara stepped forward, her crystal body pulsing with rainbow light. But first, we must visit our homeworlds. There are billions of our people who have never heard music, never felt joy or sadness or love. They need what you have given us. Kayla lowered her violin and smiled. I would like that very much. Dr. Chan looked at her instrument and laughed with relief. The alien fleet is standing down completely. Their weapon systems are powering off. Through the viewports, they could see the alien ships begin to move into new formations. Instead of the rigid military patterns they had maintained before, they now moved like dancers, creating beautiful shapes against the stars. What happens now? Commander Blake asked. Captain Morrison put his arm around Kayla's shoulders, proud of the young woman who had saved not just humanity, but an entire galactic civilization. Now we get ready for the greatest adventure in human history. We are going to the stars, and we are not going alone. As if in response to his words, Zaraketh's communication device began to play music. It was simple and tentative, like a child learning to sing, but it was beautiful because it came from the heart. Other devices throughout the fleet joined in, creating a symphony of newfound emotion that filled the space around Earth. The final countdown had ended, but it had not led to destruction. Instead, it had led to the birth of something new, a galaxy where logic and emotion, technology and art, efficiency and beauty could exist together in perfect harmony. Kayla Brooks, the young violinist who had started it all, looked out at the stars and began to play again. This time, her music was joined by voices from across the galaxy, all singing together in celebration of what they had discovered. Humanity had passed the test, but more importantly, they had helped an entire civilization. Remember how to live. The universe would never be the same again, and that was exactly how it should be.